At Direct Service Garage Doors, we are your one-stop shop for all things garage door. From garage door repair and broken spring replacement to new garage doors and openers, we do it all. We're proud to be among the highest-rated local garage door companies in all of Central Arkansas. Our highly trained technicians are available 24 hours a day at no extra cost to you. So if you have an emergency, call us today, 501-244-3667, or visit our website at directserviceoverhead.com. Don't wait days. We'll fix it now.
All right, everybody, welcome. Happy Friday. Goodness, feels good to say that, doesn't it? Feels good to say happy Friday. It really does. 3, 2, 1, yo! You see something back there? Check this out. Hang on just a second. All right, hang on. Look at this. Someone, well, you know him. A lot of you know him. John Haas had these made out. How cool is this? I don't know. The lighting's kind of crap right here, but shout out to John Haas, who is actually a moderator here. He's a former Discord mod. But how neat is that? It even says on the bottom there, quality depth matters. I love that. That's cool. So shout out to Haas, man. I don't know. We'll just put that up right there. All right, we got a little bit to talk about, man. Of course, as soon as I get the thumbnail done and I'm ready to go live, Arkansas basketball got some news. So we will start there in just a second. First off, shout out to our Test Talk with Ty legendary status members, Thomas Nunley, Timothy Wise, and Will Watkins. Now, that is for the month of June. We're going to get updates. We'll get updates, obviously, like the first week of June when that goes through. We'll have a whole new list. We may only have one legendary status member. We may have 0 legendary status members, but I'm happy to have anybody along for the ride and going the extra mile and donating to the channel. We have lost some people this month. It looks like July is going to end up being pretty brutal. So just know I appreciate your support if you are already a Patreon supporter. If you want to look into becoming one, there are benefits, and you're going to want to take part in that, and so especially if you're in our Discord. So, and even if you're not in our Discord, I am going to start uploading more content to the Patreon, to the actual Patreon page. I'm going to start uploading some more content there as well, not just our Discord. So yeah, all right. How about Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company? They are a sponsor, the very first sponsor of this show. Quality parts, affordable outcomes. Oh my gosh, why am I seeing that right? Did that post with the... Okay. Discord, for whatever reason, it's showing me that it posts the old... Never mind. Discord's weird. It shows outdated thumbnails on my screen. And I'm like, that's not what I posted. Anyways. Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes. They'll come check your garage out for free. They'll give you free estimates. Give them a call today. You can check their link out, provide for you down below. And, of course, the Odd Soul Craft Bar and Pizzeria right here in Springdale, downtown Springdale on Emma Street. Wonderful pies, local IPAs. It's good eating, good environment, really fun. They have trivia nights. Their trivia nights are apparently the bomb if you're really into that stuff. I'm not real big into the trivia because here's the thing. Yeah, I watch the living hell out of The Office, but if you ask me a trivia question, I'm also a big nerd, old school Star Wars fan, episodes 4, 5, and 6, the GOAT, right? Those are the greatest of all 9 films, especially, God, the last 3 are so bad. But, you ask me a question, I'm going to be like, wait a minute, hang on, I forgot. What's his name? So I'm not good at the trivia stuff, but they do that. They're very involved. They have those nights where they do these trivia nights, and apparently it's the bomb. So I have talked to people who've gone to those and have had a really good time. But also the great environment, great food, you name it. All right, let's get on to the first topic. This one just happened. As soon as I find it on my screen here. Denijay Harris, this is not a shock. Arkansas basketball lost. We know that Menefeld is going to we talked about this. This was on our last live show. But Menefeld is going to have to take a non-scholarship. I guess it's a non-scholarship red shirt. He's off the roster. It left room for one spot. This isn't exactly shocking news. I didn't see it. I think our Discord was actually all over this like 3 weeks ago. I say I didn't see it. I do remember his name coming up in Patreon like a long time ago. But I'll be real honest with you. When it's football season, it's football talking season, I try to keep up with everything, but mostly football. Baseball, I'm not even going to lie. I've seen the names. I haven't gone into depth on any of those guys yet in terms of research. But when it comes to football, like I'm all in, right? So this was so that's what I look for in Patreon. I'm really trying to focus on football at the moment. But basketball, this one was big. Losing Menefeld, your 6'1" guard, you're losing a little guy. Is this the direction you wanted to go? I think so. It's size. You're never going to say no to size. You're talking about a guy in Harris who's about 6'7". He's like a short 6'7", a tall 6'6", right around 200 pounds. He played the 4 spot for Southern Miss, the Eagles. Averaged 9 points, almost 6 rebounds, almost 57% field goal. I mean, it's good. I'm just a little sad we're not going to get to watch Menefeld. That's all. Like, again, man, I catch myself watching his highlights. Like, I'm so excited. I haven't seen a lot of Harris's work, I should say. I think I came across a video on Twitter a while back when someone had suggested that this would be the next spot or something. I think I'd seen it, one of those things where you're scrolling down Twitter and you kind of see the video and you're like, oh, okay, and then you keep scrolling. It was one of those kind of things. So he will be a 4th year, or he might be a redshirt junior, or he's a senior. Regardless, he's got 3 years under his belt. In 2021, he got about 17 minutes as a freshman. Played in 22 games in the 2020 season. We all know what happened in that year. 2021, 2022, he played 32 games. He got about 14 minutes. He shot about 46%. He's been hovering around 60% as a free throw shooter, which, okay, we're not talking about a true 6'11", 7-foot center shooting. Last year he shot 67, almost 68% at the free throw line. If that were a true big 5, like a true center, wow, okay, that's not bad. It's not great, but that's not bad. For a 4, for a guy who's probably going to play the 4 here, it's not great, but it's not terrible at the same time. Doesn't have a high, he's not a blocker. He's not a shot blocker. At least he hasn't been. At least he wasn't at Southern Miss. But again, he did average 9 points. That was a career high for him in his 3 years played. So, yeah, this will be his senior year. So you're getting someone with some experience, as expected, out of the portal. He's the important part here is he's 9 points, 6 rebounds. That's good. I mean, for a guy that's going to be expected to play a 4 on the floor, a forward, it's good to see he's hovering around double digits in points. Don't know him well enough to say he's going to be – he might be the opposite of Jalen Graham, right? He's not an elite scorer, but maybe he's gonna grab some rebounds, maybe play a little bit of defense. I don't know a ton about him. I really don't. I'm sure you guys in chat have been keeping up with him. I know some of our Patreon people are all over this. So, again, it's another reason why you need to be a Patreon supporter. I do recall his name coming up. But I guess they had quite the turnaround last year. They won the year before last. They didn't win a whole lot of games, and last year they did. I did see that pop up on Twitter as well. So and apparently he was the catalyst who's kind of one of the reasons why Southern Miss was able to turn their season around in 2023. So again, 6'6", 6'7", about 200 pounds, 9 points, 6 rebounds a game last year, roughly 56% scorer. So yeah. There's your addition. They've filled that final spot. So yeah, there's no more room, as you guys I'm sure have guessed if I didn't already say that. They have filled that final spot. So that leaves them. This is what the roster will look like: Devo Davis, Jalen Graham, Trevon Brazile, Joseph Pinion, Mekhi Mitchell, Layden Blocker, Bayfall, Khalif Battle, Jeremiah Davenport, Tremont Mark, L. Ellis, Chandler Lawson, and now Denijay Harris. I feel like we actually talked about him a while back. Golly, that name is so familiar. I feel like we did talk about him a little while back. Maybe I don't know. I'm not someone who goes back and watches old shows. I'm not. People will go in and comment on content that I published years ago. I had one the other day. And what's funny is I don't always get the notifications. I'll go back and I'll look in a video from 2 years ago, which at the time I don't think had very many comments, will have 10, 12, 15 comments, and I'll scroll down and read, and I'm like, damn, these people are very opinionated. I mean, as we all are. We're all, fan is short for fanatic. And also, I don't even know what the hell they're talking about because I don't remember the content of that video. But I do appreciate people watching anything I do, really. The fact that we passed 1 million views here, just great. Awesome. So, yeah, no Menefeld, but you're getting Denijay Harris. 2 different guys, right? Menefeld, 6'1" guard. I guess you're trading him in for, at the moment, Denijay Harris is going to be a upperclassman forward. 6'1" for 6'7". Yeah, I'm all right with that. I mean, you are guard heavy on your depth chart. I mean, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Davenport's kind of a combo, right? He's a forward guard. He'll play the who knows with Musselman, but I'll count Davenport. I'll even give him as a forward. Tremont Mark. So, okay, 1, 2. This font is too small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guards. Is that 7 or 8 guards? I mean, yeah, you're stacked up pretty good. And that's, by the way, that's most of college basketball in the NBA as well. It's very guard heavy. It's just the truth of it these days. Very rarely do you see 2 bigs on the floor at the same time, unless it's just someone who's really athletic and long at the 4. And sometimes you see teams play 2 6'9" guys and count them as, you'll count one of them as a center playing the 5 role. But I do really like this class of transfers. Khalif Battle, Davenport Mark, L. Ellis, Lawson. I loved Menefeld, and now you have Denijay Harris. We'll see what they do, man, down the stretch. I'm really excited. I'm really excited about the idea of basketball, though. We're in this area now where you remember the Mike Anderson era, especially the final, 2-3 years. Or, well, hell, even his first couple of years. It's not like it all started off great with Mike. I can't remember being this excited. What is this now? 3 consecutive seasons. I'm just really excited for Arkansas basketball. And I always was anyways because I like college basketball. March Madness is the greatest time of year. But now it's it's a different level of excitement because Arkansas is actually relevant, and they've been relevant in March. They may not be so great. They weren't so great last year in the regular season, but we knew, okay, well, we know that the lights will probably turn on in March, and they did. To a lesser degree, it wasn't quite the Elite Eight finish that we all wanted. What we all wanted was a natty. I know, but you know what I mean? Looking back, yeah, we would like to say, oh, well, we made it to another Elite Eight, but at least you got to the Sweet 16. When you get into the part of the tournaments where they have names, it's not just the round 1, round 2. You get into the Sweet 16, to the Elite Eight, to the Final Four. That's when you hang those banners, baby. And it was a banner hanging postseason. That's what's so exciting about it, right? Tell me what you guys think. Is that you like the addition? Do you like Denijay Harris? Let's make that an odd soul poll. Wow, not hang on a second here. Let's make that an odd soul poll. Engage with your audience. You know what? We're gonna wait on that. We're gonna wait because we the next part you guys are gonna really like. For you guys that have been asking, and I haven't been asked this in a while, I've done this before in previous shows where I grade out the positions. I'm going to give you my depth chart. That's what we're doing here. I'm going to give you my depth chart, and I'm going to grade them as I go, where I think they're at based on what I saw in spring camp and kind of what I, kind of what I expect to see and what I think will end up being the case going into fall camp as far as like the depth chart and the grading. Obviously it's going to change week to week. We're going to have a better idea, but this way we kind of bring it all together, and it's like, this is where I'm at in this area, right, at quarterback and running back and wide receiver room, tight end room, offensive line room. We can kind of just put it out there, clump it all together in one live. And I thought about just doing like the offense, and maybe I still will, just kind of depending on how long the live goes. There might come a point where I'm like, all right, I'm going to hang it up. You know what I mean? Just put an early into it. But yeah, we're going to start with I think we should start with the defense. Let me pull up my depth chart here. Now, you guys know I have a private – anybody can make a private Discord server. It's free. I have one where it's just show notes. It's Cliff Notes. It's scripting. It's also depth chart. It's other Razorback stuff, other Razorback information. It's links. It's stuff that I find from around the internet that I just kind of clump all together. And on here, I have my depth chart. So what I'm going to eventually do is I'm going to copy and paste this over to the main Tuss Talk with Ty Discord. So you guys will have access to this, what I'm about to tell you, in terms of the depth chart and the grading. It will be available over on the Tuss Talk Discord. And that includes the grades and everything else and the projected first, second, and third, and so on, and whatever string, the A squad, the B squad, so on and so forth. That's a dope cup back there. What's up, man? Did you miss this part where I pulled the cup down, Haas? I'm not a basketball guy, and I'm hyped for hoops, says Haas. Yeah, I know, man. Bayfall is tall and lanky, but he's a long ways away from being SEC ready. Give your NCAA. Steve-O says, give your NCAA football game rating for each player. Yeah. So we have done that so far, and it's been, I'm a little bit surprised Christopher Paul didn't even break 500 votes. How does Christopher Paul not break 500 votes? Maybe we will go over that. I'm going to add some more. I was going to drop one today, and I still might. They've been really good. Like, the polls have worked out really well. I'm really glad you guys are participating in that. Ty, what up, brother? Been a minute since I caught a live show. What's up, Dylan Heigelman? I appreciate you for being here, man. That's why you buy online. Yeah, that's right. That's why you shop online, man. You do Walmart delivery? Hell yeah. It's awesome. Who's going to guard the big guys in the SEC? No big man threat inside. Kopesky with that pessimistic attitude, even when they make it to the Sweet 16, he's still like, yeah, no, I've got things to be upset about. Listen, I don't know where I'm at with Razorback basketball right now. If I had to be honest with you, right, I do think they whiffed on one guy in particular, but it's like one of those things where we could sit here and say this, comparing this roster to previous years, I don't know that this is his strongest. I don't think it's going to be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll have the length. I don't know. I'm not over the moon with the incoming freshman. If I'm being real honest, I'm not saying that. I'm not big on blocker or Bayfall. I'm not over the moon like I was last year. Obviously, when you have that many McDonald's All-Americans and so on and so forth, and yet you still didn't make the Elite Eight with those guys, right? So maybe this mix of of age, guys that are a little bit older, maybe these guys will click. They'll click together better. I am hyped about Devo in Brazil. I'm telling you, I'm really big on that. So, all right. Muss whiffed on 3 to 4 Final Four guys. He missed. He did. Right now, Kopesky says still a good team, not great. We don't know that for sure yet, right? Like, we don't know until they put it all together and we're in mid-January, and we have a much better idea of what they're capable of. All right, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you're new here. We got another bump in subscribers, so I appreciate that. That's really cool. Okay. Let's get on with it. Let's do it. We're at the 22-minute mark. I'm trying to, if you notice, if you go back and you watch the lives, you kind of fall behind, you pause the video, you come back. If you look down below now in the comment section, I've been trying to timestamp for you guys. You know, I didn't timestamp the first 10 minutes of the last show because it was me talking about whatever. I don't even remember, actually. But it wasn't Razorback related. And listen, sometimes that's just the case. It is the off season. I treat it more like a live, I don't know, interactive radio show. That's how I treat it, you know. And we've already hit some Razorback news. We hit Razorback basketball. All right. 23 minutes now. 23 minutes, 10 seconds. Let's get into the depth chart. And 2023 Razorback football depth chart and grades. So let's start off with the defense. I still haven't made up my mind if I'm going to hop over to the offense or maybe save that for next week. But let's start with the defense. And let's start with the back end of let's start with the secondary. Now, this Pepsi Zero's coming up. I had bacon-wrapped jalapenos stuffed with cream cheese and a little bit of Slap Your Mama seasoning. Oh, my God. Y'all, that was my lunch. I ate a few of those. I got to lay off of them, though, man. Need to lay off of them, but it's like crack cocaine. Like, they're just so damn good with that cream cheese. Anyways, secondary. Corner. This is what you're looking at. Now, I made this list. This is actually right after fall camp with some slight adjustments. But again, this depth chart is what I expect to see going into fall camp, okay? This is the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s. At corner, Dwight McLaughlin, obviously, right? If you wanted me to give you an EA rating on him, I think he'd be in the 86 to 88 category. I think that's where I'd probably put him, maybe. I thought he was spectacular last season. I love his shit talking. He gets inside those receivers' heads, man. I love it. So behind him, it gets a little dicey. You got Jalen Braxton, who I don't know if they're going to move him. He could play a couple different areas with the corners. I think he could play. I think RJ Johnson is a potential starter down the road. Between him and Jalen Braxton, those are the two guys. I don't know if I would flip Braxton. Maybe I would and put him behind Dwight McLaughlin. That's cornerback 1, right? It doesn't really matter. Second corner is also kind of a toss-up. We don't know what they're going to do with Lorando Johnson, if they're going to put him back at safety or work him at corner. Right now, I've got him as a starting corner unless Jaheim Singletary, you remember the former 5-star Georgia corner who transferred in, did not participate. That's what kills me with him. He was not here for spring camp. He's going to be a redshirt freshman. He could potentially take over that spot so they can move and do whatever they want with Lorando Johnson. Now at nickel, I like Al Walcott to eventually take that spot. Going into fall camp, I don't know. There's a little bit of maybe Dallas Young, Jalen Lewis, someone maybe has that spot to start fall camp. Now we know how this is going to work. They're going to work in multiple guys in multiple positions with the 1s, 2s, and 3s. I think it's going to end up. I know I said this was a going into fall camp, but I think post fall camp, Walcott, the Baylor transfer, is going to take that job. I like what I see out of Walcott. Okay, safeties are also a little bit. It's interesting, right? Hudson Clark obviously is going to be your guy, 5th-year senior. TJ Metcalf will be in the mix. I think I have Arthur Brathwaite, who I believe is a walk-on. He'll be in the mix. I'm not going to lie to you. If I had to rate the individual secondary, safety scares the shit out of me. Again, is it better than when they had Simeon Blair? I think so, because you're going to have Malik Chavis, Jaden Johnson, and I don't know what to make of Dylan Haas just yet. He had, it's not like he was atrocious in spring camp, and I seem to remember him being in the mix a little bit. But Dylan, They may burn his red shirt on special teams. I don't know. Just someone to keep an eye on, though. But Malik Chavis, Jaden Johnson. So you're talking about some upperclassmen there. That's the thing that does give you a little bit of comfort. But what year were they with Simeon Blair? What was he? He was eligible for another year, by the way. It still worries me. Hudson Clark, you guys know how I feel ever since they moved him to safety. It's the right spot for him. TJ Metcalf is I think will be a rising star in this secondary. I'm really excited about him, but he is still just a true freshman. But then again, so was Quincy McAdoo, who didn't even work with the secondary going in or coming out of fall camp. So who knows, right? TJ Metcalf could be in the mix. Could play, from what I understand, could play either one of those safety spots and could maybe even is athletic enough to play that nickel corner. So my overall grade for the corners right now, I've got as a C minus or secondary, excuse me. I have as a C minus. Listen, after last year, what grade would you give the secondary? It'd be an F. Hell, it'd be an F double minus. They were horrible. Some schools, they like to grade like using, numeric, using numbers. It'd be like a -20. They were horrible. To put them in the C category is a hell of a jump. I think this because of the attention to detail, the changes that they made with the coaching staff, with the guys that they brought in like Walcott, Johnson, some of the freshmen I think are going to be in the mix. Dwight McLaughlin coming back. I'm pretty excited about Jalen Braxton, who's a redshirt freshman. RJ Johnson's another guy who I think, unless they move him back to safety, God only knows. Again, so many of these guys could play any spot. I mean, they really can. Like, all of these guys could play probably just about any position in the secondary. And maybe that's what Sam likes. He likes to work those guys in and out of certain areas in the secondary. That way they all have some experience, right? Like, Bishop is another guy. I don't know. Why don't I have him on my roster? That's interesting. I didn't put Bishop. But Bishop is a guy who's a former starter, right? He was our QB or a corner number 1 2 years ago. He was the guy and got injured and was never really the same. And then he had an active spring. I'll say that. He had the interception, if I remember that right, in the red-white scrimmage. He had the interception. So he's someone that maybe if they have to if you could see in the mix, right, with the 1s and the 2s. I don't know that he'll take the 1 spot, but why do I not have Bishop on my depth chart? How did I miss that? I do expect him to be in the mix, by the way, at some point, as far as like just being in rotation with the 2s and the 3s. Let me see what you guys are saying in a live chat here really quick. Keon Stewart, corner. Yeah, there's Keon Stewart, who I also forget to add too. You're right about that. Yeah, Stewart is someone, I like him too. It's the work they have done is very clear that Sam recognized the issue and just went right to it and addressed it. I love the hires with the secondary. So far from what I understand, the strength conditioning program doing exactly what they should be doing, and maybe the secondary will benefit from that as well, because I thought they were weak off the line of scrimmage. I thought they got pushed around outside of maybe Hudson Clark. Hudson Clark was pretty tough, man, a willing tackler, willing defender. I think could play pretty well. I think he's one of those like high IQ zone cover guys, but if you get him in a situation where he's playing man anywhere, like if you go cover 0, oh my God, make sure Hudson Clark is on the slowest, fattest tight end. Someone who's just slow. Because we know Hudson's not afraid of contact, right? We know that this defense coordinator has a reputation of being pretty aggressive and going to that cover 0, which is basically it's just man coverage with everybody, including your safeties, who typically drop back into some kind of cover 2 zone. They go back and they're playing an area of the back end of the defense. Apparently this cat, known to just go cover 0. But Hudson Clark, you want to make sure he's on the slowest guy. But could cover, I think, a lot of people in zone. And he's got a little bit of I think he's got long arms and big hands, too. That's why he's someone – I don't know that you want to throw – I don't know that if he's back there and he's covering, he's got that 6'2" frame. I don't know that you want him in a jump ball situation if you're an opposing – quarterback. I don't know that you want to challenge Hudson if he's in position to make a play on the ball, but then again, that's always a bad scenario anyways, no matter who's defending. Clark is faster than Blair, says Steve-O. pretty sure our obese cat could probably cover better than, and I hate to shit on anybody, but Simeon Blair, I don't know, man. I just thought he was liability is an understatement. Clark could have gained some speed over the summer, but I don't know if he did or not. Says Money Marge. That is absolutely a possibility. Arky56 is late to the show. What a surprise. He's probably already gone. Dad, he's going to fill in that last spot for Arkansas. I never said it, but the secondary looked a little light last season. Says Paul. Okay. So again, I'm sticking with C- in the secondary. That would be my overall grade. And that's everyone. That's corners and safeties. And again, that's a pretty big bump. Because last year, that's an F. Postseason, that's an F. Hudson Clark might be the bright spot only because he fit in so well in that. We got to remember, too, this is going to be a different defense. Your front six, front seven is going to look different. You're going to have 4 true defensive linemen on the field. Probably more like a 4-2 front six kind of look with the nickel playing in tight close to the inside the box if he's not manned up somewhere against a receiver. It's going to be a little bit different look. So who knows if these guys, if Hudson Clark clicks in this defense, God only knows. He could take a step back. We talk about Dan Enos and how KJ responds on offense. We're not talking enough about how some of these guys, on the back end of this defense, how well they're going to fit into this new scheme. It's going to be more aggressive. Now, does that mean more sacks? You had a lot of sacks last year. I'd probably say you're going to be on the under there. God love him, but Blair was horrible. Yeah, man, and you only hope the best for him. I hope he's off doing something great. I really do. I don't even know if he re-signed. I'm assuming he re-signed somewhere. I hope he goes on and does great things, but he just did not. Just didn't work out here, man. It was a problem. And listen, that could have been a communication thing between him and the coaching staff or between him and some other players. It may not all be on him. He may just not have fit that defense, right? Go Hawk says he went to Memphis. Okay. Maybe he did. Kopesky says, I think Walcott, Snacks, and Singletary will shine in this secondary. I like these new additions, and they're a big reason why I bumped this secondary. Like, without those guys, oh, Lord. Who God only knows what this defense it would not be pretty, right? All right, let's go to the linebackers. Now, I think you're going to see more of a 2-linebacker look. I think they're pretty deep here in terms of just, like, the guys that they have on roster now. And the guys that, well, I mean, we'll see about the transfers. I like Greer, right? I like Jaheim Thomas, Cincinnati transfer, who's a 4th-year guy, by the way. I liked Alex Sanford and Carson Dean, couple of freshmen. But let's talk about Christopher Pupal. Now, again, these are guys that are going to play probably both roles. There could be a time when you see Christopher Pupal and Jordan Crook out on the field at the same time. I don't know. Obviously, Christopher Pupal here is your guy. Christopher Pupal is probably on that defense. I would imagine Christopher Pupal is the guy that everyone's expecting to really stand out. But he's going to be obviously your starter, right? Maybe behind him it's Jordan Crook. I don't know what to make of Manny Powell just yet. Unfortunately, there's just some guys who – it could be one of two things. It could be that Manny Powell, he is, after all, he's a sophomore. He didn't take the red shirt last year. He did play. That's a pretty good sign that this staff thinks highly enough for a true freshman to come in and to get an opportunity somewhere, and he did. I don't know how much his injury, his senior year at Fayetteville, how much that has hindered his long-term, or his ceiling, I guess. It was a pretty big injury. Knocked him out. I think they were 2 games into the season. He had to miss the whole year, his senior year at Fayetteville. I kind of expected Manny by now to be a guy who's probably we're talking about as a starter. Right now, I think he's probably going to be 3 deep. We'll see. Again, we're going to know a lot more. Maybe he responds really well to this summer camp, this summer workout. We'll know. Sam Pittman will talk here soon about how summer camp went, at least based on what information he can give. Maybe he's someone who responded really well to it. But I would say again, Christopher Pupal, Crook, Manny Powell are gonna head up that linebacker spot, and then Antonio Greer, Jahan Thomas, Carson Dean, Alex Sanford at the other spot. I feel like I'm missing a name. Someone feel free to throw a name out there if I'm missing one, but I don't know what to make of Greer. He is explosive. He moves really well. He's obviously a guy that's been around for a while. I think he's a 10th year senior. Is he I know he's at least a redshirt senior. I feel like is he a 6th year guy? No, he's a 5th year. He's a 5th year. I'm almost positive. But that was a good get for them because you're talking about a guy that's going to come in and probably start unless Thomas just blows up, which is also possible. Those are both guys that are 4-year players or above in terms of, what year they are, right? Thomas is a redshirt junior. Yeah, Antonio Greer is at least a 5th-year senior. And then behind them, you're going to have guys like Carson Dean and Sanford. Listen, Dean turned some heads. Dean had a very similar spring camp to the tight end, the freshman tight end, Ty Washington, through fall camp last year. You guys remember that? The first 2 weeks of fall camp, a lot of people were talking about Ty Washington. I kind of feel like Carson Dean had a similar experience in spring camp. Like he started off pretty strong. He could sneak up there, but unfortunately for him, he's got upperclassmen in front of him. Again, these guys could move around. Some of these guys could play either linebacker spot. Who knows? They could completely go with a different look. You could see Christopher Paul and Manny Powell start, I mean, who knows? Again, maybe these guys responded really well to the new strength conditioning coaches, and they responded well to the summer camp. But again, this is just my observation of the linebackers. So again, it's Greer and Christopher Pupal are the two guys. Behind Greer, it's Jahan Thomas, the Cincinnati transfer. Behind Paul, I think it's going to be Jordan Crook. And Jordan Crook has always looked good to me in camp, whether that's last year's fall camp or this year's spring camp. Jordan Crook could be a potential, I don't know, man. I think he could be a potential like all-conference caliber player. Same, obviously, Christopher Pupal is a potential All-American, right? Like I think that's his ceiling. We'll have to wait and see on everybody else, but yeah. So there you go, man. We've already looked at that. We've hit out the secondary. We've hit out the corners or the linebackers. Next up, we're gonna do the defensive line. Let me get caught up on chat here really quick. Drew Sanders was faster than Clark, says Mike. Philip White says, God, just please watch over our team, keep them healthy. We've had enough punishment for whatever it is we've supposedly done. Sheesh. I mean, it's gotten to that point, has it not? You look at starting pitching for the Razorbacks the last couple of years. You lost your star middle reliever closer who turned into a couple different roles in the pitching out of the bullpen. Catalan, Slusher, Nick Smith, Brazil. Like, good Lord. It's either an Indian burial ground or Jeff Long sold his soul for Bobby Petrino and Ryan Mallett to intertwine around the same time. I don't know, man. It is bizarre, and you're not out of line at all, Philip White. You're not. What's up, Ash? How you doing, man? It even spread out to softball and soccer teams. I'm telling you. We have people in our Discord who claim that there is an Indian burial ground. We know there's a Civil War burial ground right off of is it 15th Street in Fayetteville? Where is that Civil War grave, the grave site? I remember going, God, like 30 years ago. Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know. You guys are saying that Blair went to Memphis. Okay. Yeah, like all of you are saying. Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. I saw that article that Jackson Wiggins' younger bro is already a top 10. Yeah, he's not. He'd be crazy. I think he'd be crazy to sign with Arkansas. Top 10, yeah. That's nuts. I mean, Pearl Harbor even happened to keep us from getting Bear Bryant. Yeah, he heard it on the radio, right? And he was supposedly on his way to talk about – I've heard that story told 15 different ways. He was on his way to talk to someone at the U of A about becoming a coach. Yeah. Sean Drury, here we go. It was ballsy to bring in a bunch of unknown receivers. I pray at least one is as good as we hope they can be. Yeah, we'll get over there. We're going to talk. I think we are going to talk about the offense. Let's get to the defensive line. Okay. Again, if you're just joining us, we've been going over the depth chart. And I'm grading out the areas or the positions. Not each and every position, but like the secondary, which I gave a C-. Oh, the linebackers, I didn't give a grade. B- is my grade for the linebackers, by the way. That's my grade for the linebackers, B-. Defensive line, I've given a B- as well. Trayon Jeffcoat, I'm cautiously optimistic about what he can do here. John Morgan, who's going to back him up probably. I'm hearing a lot of good things about Jashad Stewart. Man, we hear this every year. Between him and Zach Williams, it's like every year these two guys are going to blow up, and they just never do. I think he might start out in fall camp as a starting D end. I think by the time it's all said and done, he's going to be a 2 guy or a 3 guy. And then on the other side, you got Landon Jackson, Nico Davier, Zach Williams. I think it's a strong B-. I think the reason why I give them that is mostly because of Landon Jackson and Trayon Jeffcoat. I'm really excited about Landon Jackson. I think he's a potential with that frame, with that size, with that arm length, his hands, the physicality that he can play with. Is he aggressive enough? I think that's a question that's been thrown out there before. Is he aggressive? How quick is he off the line of scrimmage as soon as the ball snaps? But he's got the length. I think he's got the strength. He just kind of checks like all the boxes along again with that long frame, that big body, and he's put on some weight. He checked in at spring camp at like 269. Now he's up to 280, 275, 280. He's a big dude. I think he has that big leap this year. I think he has that big jump. Last year, we kind of expected some big things. Didn't really happen. But I think this year, Landon Jackson, I just think he takes off. I think this is going to be his year. I think it's I hate putting numbers on stuff like sack amount, right? But that's not all we look at, right? Like how well does he, how it's the measurables, and then it's the ceiling that the NFL is going to look at, and of course it's going to be film. We could say that, wow, Drew Sanders, look at what he did in the backfield last year, and he still didn't get taken in the first round. Obviously, the NFL just disagreed with all of us. I think most of us here thought that Drew Sanders was a late first round, maybe a second round pick, and he just fell back. And so maybe it's the opposite effect with Landon Jackson, where no one's really talking about him, and then come November, December, more people are talking about this guy being a big deal. But maybe he is a 8+ sack kind of guy. Maybe he will enter into that territory. They took a hit in the portal here, on the defensive line. They did. They took a little bit of a hit, but it's good that you've got guys like Trayon Jeffcoat. I think he's going to be a net positive. And then you've got going to the interior, right? Cam Ball, Eric Gregory, Marcus Miller. Wait, I have Eric Gregory. Let's see, Torrin Carter, Anthony Booker, Kyvie Rose. Really excited about that combination of Torrin Carter and Cam Ball. Torrin, I think, is out to get noticed. I think he knows he truly has NFL potential. Maybe he has that final year. We've seen this on the defensive line before, where guys just have a monster final season. Maybe he could do exactly that. But I'm really excited about what's going on in the interior area of the defensive line in terms of just having that quality depth. Remember, I mean, Haas slapped it on that cup back there, right? Quality depth matters. I think they finally have it. I think they are 5 deep there, across that's just the interior, I think. Again, Cam Ball, Eric Gregory, Marcus Miller, Torrin Carter, Anthony Booker, Kyvie Rose. I mean, that's just 6 names. Marcus Miller's kind of he's on the outside looking in, but who knows, man? This could be a guy that becomes, a great player for them, has that kind of year where you're just kind of comes out of nowhere. Zachary Hall, what's up, man? Thanks for the $10 super chat, brother. I appreciate that. Oh, look at this. I can heart it now. That's cool. I can heart. That's his first super chat. Thanks, man. I can now react to your super chats. That's really cool. Keep up the good work, Ty. Enjoy the show. I appreciate you, Zach, and I always tune in. I try to tune in, especially when you're talking about my area. It's not a good thing when you're talking about my area, but I do appreciate you, man. Yeah, and congrats on the first super chat, by the way. Hey, Ty. Tim, what's up, man? Tim says, hey, Ty, coming to Springdale in a week. Can't wait. What kind of conversation do you think that Pittman has had with his team following the Northwestern situation? I don't know, Tim. That's a good question. I hope at least he's explained it to him. I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm not completely up to date with what all happened there. I know kind of the gist, some of it. These coaches have just got to be, you got to be on top of it, right? You got to prepare these young men for anything these days and stuff. And listen, not just for the sake of it being leaked. You need to act right in public and whatever, but you just got to really just remember that there's cameras everywhere, and there's a certain way young men should behave, right? I hope he's had some kind of conversation, but I feel like he has. I feel like he's Sam strikes me as the kind of guy that when stuff like that happens, he's having a conversation. Either he's telling his staff to talk to the players. I don't know. Let's see. If we win the game, we're supposed to win in one or both Texas A&M and Florida. It's going to be a great year. A lot of people putting a lot of pressure on A&M on that game. If A&M is as good as everyone says they are, I'm not. I mean, I've seen some people put them as high as second in the West, or at least third, top 3 typically. If they're and I think that's probably reflective of like a 9 or 10 win season. I don't know that I'm there or not. Like I keep going back and forth with A&M. Bobby Petrino certainly gives me pause for concern. Petrino, I think the question is how well Jimbo and Petrino work together. If Jimbo's going to hand over the offense, is Petrino just a glorified, like what is Petrino's role really if he's not there to coach the offense? We all know how Petrino, we know he's an offensive mind, and we know he's controlling. He was when he was here on both sides of the line of scrimmage. He had a lot of control over the defense, more control than you might realize. Poor old Willie Robinson. Poor Willie Rob. So I have such a hard time wrapping my mind around the idea that he's just going there and going to let Jimbo just call the offense. I don't know. Maybe he has truly changed. I do think the venom is out of the snake. I don't think he's what he once was. At least, no, I know he had one good year at Louisville when he went back the second time. But I don't think he's the same Bobby Petrino. I haven't since the bike wreck. I don't think he's the same guy in terms of being an elite play caller. All the attention to detail. It's like the Tiger Woods effect after that issue with his wife. He's never been the same. Now we look back and it's like, well, he's got a lot of back problems and so on and so forth. But still, even before all that stuff was creeping up, he was never the same. And there's so many other examples. Something happens and these guys just don't ever recover. I think that's Bobby Petrino. Yeah, they put on a show against Arkansas, and then what happened? They found a way to lose that game, as they should have. Arkansas should never have struggled with them, but then what happened afterwards, right? I just don't know what they're getting in Bobby Petrino. Almost losing to Missouri State makes me real worried about the Aggies' talent combined with Petrino. Yeah, again, Brock, it just goes back to how much influence is Petrino going to have on that offense? How much is Jimbo willing to give up? I just don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing to see play out. Maybe Bobby is like Tiger Woods, take away the women, they fall apart. I think that might be the case, man. I don't know. There's something about feeling like you're invincible. I mean, remember when he was here going into his, after year one with Tyler Wilson, after the second year with Ryan Mallett, Arkansas was the mayor, or excuse me, the governor of Arkansas. He could do whatever he wanted, and I think, I don't know, sometimes that stuff just goes to your head and you actually perform worse. I tend to think maybe he was the opposite, I don't know. No one will ever figure that whole situation out. He did something bad and he caught the L. He got fired, and it put Arkansas as a football program behind 10 years. I mean, it did. I think it cost Arkansas 10 years. All right, so let's recap really quick. Defensive line, I'm giving a B-. Linebackers, I'm giving a B-. Secondary, I'm giving a C-. I think that's fair. Let's switch it over to the offense. All right? Now, we're going to start with the offensive line. Now, I'm giving the offensive line, I'm just going to call it straight up B-. This one's hard. This one's really hard. I like Brady Latham and Bo Limmer a lot. I don't know what to make of what's going on at left tackle just yet. Devin Manuel, who's a redshirt sophomore. I know Chamblee. I thought by now Chamblee would clearly be the number one guy over there. I really did. I think Devin Manuel is going to be the one there. I think Devin Manuel is going to be the guy with Chamblee backing him up. Terry Wells will probably be in the mix somewhere. Left guard, we know it's going to be Brady Latham. Probably Cole Carson. I don't know what to make of Parrish Patterson. I saw someone say that he is going to end up probably pretty far back in the 3 spot at left guard. Couldn't move around. Center, Bo Limmer, maybe Josh Street. I know Armory. I can't pronounce his first name. Is it Amory? Amory Wiggins. He came in late transfer. He's going to be a sophomore. Now, I put a little flame next to some of these guys because they're rising people. There's someone to keep an eye on. And I did that, and I'm going to do that when I paste this over to the main Patreon, to Tuss Talk with Ty, not Patreon, but Discord. When you see that, what that indicates is someone who's probably going to rise up the depth chart. Wiggins is someone I think is going to end up taking that 2 spot behind Bo Limmer. Josh Street just has the experience. He's a third-year guy. He's been here for a minute. He's been the backup center, but I think eventually Wiggins takes that spot. Joshua Braun, I think, will take, obviously, the right guard. You've got Joey Sua and Amarian Harris. And then at right tackle, Patrick Kutas and Tykees Crawford. Now, Crawford's another guy that I just thought he'd be starting somewhere. Last year, he was given some opportunities, and he really struggled. Now, I like him at right tackle, but it's a good thing that Patrick Kutas has taken over that spot, though. Kutas, who's younger, he's got more time to mold and develop into a true right tackle. Is it a step back from what Dalton Wagner did at right tackle? We'll have to wait and see. I'm leaning towards yes. Dalton Wagner's final season last year, he was great. I thought he was really good. Pro Football Focus graded him out really high. I don't think it's an upgrade there based on what Wagner was able to do. Now, is Kutas' ceiling a little bit higher? I think so. Down the road, I think Kutas is going to end up being a stud. But going into fall camp, coming out of fall camp, I expect Kutas to be that guy. Again, Joshua Braun, the Florida Gator transfer who wants to play interior. He's going to play guard with Sua and Harris behind him. We're going to see them kind of move guys around. Wouldn't shock me to see them move Wiggins maybe to guard. You never know. But Wiggins is the expectation is he's going to be the 2 behind Bo Limmer. Bo Limmer, potential All-American. Brady Latham, potential All-American. I just don't know what to make of the 2 tackle spots. That's what gives me concern. My first grade was actually a C-. And then the more I talk myself into what's going on with the interior, I like I do like Joshua Braun at that right guard spot. I like the depth there. I think they actually have somewhat quality depth in the interior, on the interior part of the offensive line. So that's the center and the 2 guards, or the center and the 2 guards. The outside, right? Like, I just don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out going through fall camp. If we see guys get kind of passed up, maybe Andrew Chamblee does take the left tackle spot. Right now, I think Manuel's going to be the guy at left tackle. We'll have to wait and see. And Tykees Crawford is not someone you rule out. I am a little bit surprised he's just not the clear-cut starter. I was so big on him when he recommitted and ended up re-signing with Arkansas. Or not re-signing because he technically committed, but he had to decommit, go to Charlotte for a year, and then recommit and sign with Arkansas. I think that's, if I remember right, that's how that played out. Manny says, Ty, will this be the best offensive line Arkansas has had since Pittman has arrived? Ooh, that's a good question, because I thought last year that offensive line gelled as far as run blocking, right? Now we're going to be comparing apples and oranges because we're going from the veer and shoot to whatever the hell Dan Enos is going to give us, right? Some people call it the pro style. Hooten's Magazine, by the way, which is $20, says that it's a pro style offense. I think it's probably more like a spread pro style. I don't even know what to call it, because I think what he's going to do, he's going to work with what he has. And that's what he did with Brandon Allen, and look what happened. He gave you one of just 3 seasons ever you had 6,000 yards of total offense. I think it's either the third or the second highest amount of yards ever in a single season. He did that in 2015. Brandon Allen, who's a pure passing quarterback, right? KJ's more of a multiple, he's a dual threat, but he's not so much a dual threat. Maybe it's just that he's an RPO type quarterback, which we typically lump in as being a dual threat quarterback. It's going to be a different look, and it's going to have an impact on the offensive line. I don't know. The 2015 offensive line, of course, we know who was coaching that group, and that felt like, can we ever do better than this, right? With what they had up front on the offensive line, with the running backs, with with Brandon Allen, the kind of year that he had. Like, that's one of the most successful in terms of just total offense, and the defense that year wasn't atrocious. That to me is kind of like where you'd like to be at, right? You want to get back to that 6,000 yard threshold, and it is going to start and finish with the offensive line. It's a weird situation. Like, it really could be a scenario where Devin Manuel ends up being one of the greatest left tackles we've ever had here. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm saying that I could see that being a scenario that plays out, but then the interior offensive line actually took a step back, right? You can have different areas on the offensive line that outperform other areas, and all of a sudden you see a trend where they really favor running to just one side of the line of scrimmage, which is also not – it's not good, right? Your outlook is not so good if you have to favor one side of the offensive line towards another, but teams do it, and if you can just line up and run left 75% of the time and you have success, then so what? Try to stop us. That's where that RPO is supposed to kick in and have an effect. And all of a sudden now you have, you're leaving it in the hands of the quarterback, to make that initial read and make the right read and do what he needs to do with the ball to pick up a chunk of yards or score. This offensive line, man, I go back and forth like all the time when I try to sit down and I'm like, I like Chamblee, but why hasn't he? Is it that Manuel isn't as good as we thought, and that's why he can't just be the clear-cut number one? Some people in the media, I believe, think he's just the clear-cut, no competition. I think there's going to be a little bit of competition. So is it that Devin Manuel isn't as good as some people think, or maybe that Chamblee is better than other people think? I don't know. That left tackle spot, though, we all know there's a reason why it's so highly sought after in the draft, why it's so highly sought after in free agency, why it's the position that has the kind of value that it has. It is, in my opinion, one of the most valuable positions in all of football, and I have a big question mark there at the moment. Right tackle, I think, is going to be fine. I think Kutas is going to do his job. I am a little bit concerned about what's going on at left tackle, only because of there is no clear cut, in my opinion, no clear cut number one guy at left tackle. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're going to be just fine. But I wrestled with this one. You know, when I was grading, I didn't know. Like I said, I had him at C- because there's just question marks there. But again, Brady Latham, Bo Limmer, Joshua Braun. I like what's going on there. I like Amory Wiggins. I'm just going to call him Wiggins. I like Wiggins. I think he's he's going to be somebody. He's going to be a sophomore. I think technically this is his sophomore season. You know, Cole Carson, he's been around. He kind of knows what's up. You've got Joey Sua, the kid out of Bentonville. His mom works for Walmart Home Office, and she transferred from California, I think, and moved to Bentonville. So he's one of those transplant kids that we used to ask, where the hell are these transplant kids? Where are they at? You'd think Bentonville and Rogers and maybe even Fayetteville would have more of these kids, but he is one of those. I like, Tykees Crawford and Kutas, where it feels like there might be a little bit of a battle, but Kutas is going to take that spot. But again, it all kind of boils down to the two tackle spots, mainly left tackle. It's tough to say. I don't want to compare them to any other offensive line. Last year, they were really good. Run blocking, I think, in terms of pass pro, I think that there were definitely some holes, right? And so maybe they can fix that this year. All right, so offensive line, B-, Devin Manuel, Andrew Chambly, Terry Wells at left tackle. Left guard, Brady Latham, Cole Carson, Paris Patterson, maybe. Center, Bo Limmer. So Bo Limmer and Brady Latham, again, are All-American. I think their ceiling is very high, especially I'm on the Bo Limmer train. Probably Wiggins. Eventually will be Wiggins, but right now it's Limmer, Street, and Wiggins at center. Right guard, it's going to be the Florida transfer, Joshua Braun, backed up by Sua and Harris. Right tackle is going to be Kutas and Crawford. There you go. B-, probably closer to a C+, but we'll have to wait and see. Tight end. Ooh. Tight end. This one's good. What are we at? Oh, we're over an hour. Look at that. See, this is why I said I may not do offense and defense. Yeah, make sure you like the stream, by the way. Like the show. Share the content. All right, tight ends. Pardon me. This is another interesting group that's a mix of young and old, but I'm going to go over this somewhat quick. I've categorized them in two different areas. And there's different names, different offenses have different lettering or whatever. I've got blockers / hybrid tight ends, and then I have receiving tight ends, right? And you could also say receiving tight ends can also kind of be the hybrid, but whatever. Nathan Bax is probably going to be your starter, depending on the scenario. If you're trying to go heavy, if your goal line situation where you have 3 tight ends on the field, it's probably going to look something like Nathan Bax, who's 6'4", 200. Well, I don't know what he is now, actually. Do we have an update on his size? Hold on. He's got to be one of those guys they put some weight on. See, like I said, I did this list a couple months ago. What is Bax's size? Okay. He's still at 6'4", 252, according to the roster sheet. Okay, so Nathan Bax, you're probably going to have Francis Sherman, the Louisville transfer, who's 6'3", 6'4", somewhere in there, about 240 pounds. Looks bigger than I think when they brought him in, he was 234. The picture that I sent to Discord, and I think everyone agreed that saw it, that dude looks bigger than 235. That is the most built 235-pound human being I've ever seen. That dude looked like he must be just pure muscle, like zero body fat. But he just looks stacked. at 6'3", 234 pounds. Is he on the – hang on a second. Yeah, they still have him listed at 6'3", 234. But I think that was kind of what he was at Louisville. He's kind of a blocker. So I think you're probably going to see two of those guys if they try to go heavy with a mix of someone like maybe Ty Washington, who's 6'4". That's another guy. Let me look up. 6'4", 244. Okay. Again, this is coming from the Razorbacks website. So you might see Ty Washington but if it's like a two tight end set, midfield, we're not third and goal, we're not goal line. I think it's probably going to end up being like Nathan Bax, Luke Haas, Varkey's Gums will be in the mix. But right now I have Luke Haas, Varkey's Gums, Ty Washington, and Shamar Easter as the receiving tight ends. Again, this is difficult because he's going to use two tight end sets, but when he goes single tight end, is it going to be obvious when they've got Nathan Bax out on the field, like what their goal is on that drive? They're just going to try and run the football, or they use someone like a Hunter Talley or Francis Sherman. If they do go two tight end set, maybe you don't see, or is it going to be a situation where they're going out there with Luke Haas, Varkey's Gums, and Ty Washington? Shamar Easter, I don't see. I don't know. It's all going to depend again on how well he responds in fall camp. I think he's got a very high ceiling. I might even argue I think he's got one of the highest ceilings in that tight end room. It would probably be a toss-up between him. I like all these guys, Varkey's Gums, Ty Washington, Luke Haas. I really think he's going to end up being at the top of that list, assuming, we got to get over the hurdles, right? Is he coachable? How well does he fit into the system? Pray to God he doesn't transfer when he doesn't start, or if he's not getting as much playing time. If he sticks to it, we know Enos, what he can do with tight ends. Shamar Easter is someone who could benefit in a Dan Enos offense, but you could say that about any one of these guys. Varkey's Gums has the flame next to his name. He's actually my rising star on this entire team. I think very highly of Varkey's Gums. I think he's probably one of the top transfers on this entire roster. Again, he wasn't here during spring camp, right? Luke Haas was, and guess what? When he was targeted, when they were doing fastball or whatever, he was wide open. Nobody near him. Is that saying something about the coverage, or is that about his ability to find ways to get wide open, right? 6'3", 200 and whatever, 225, 230. Yeah, they're a little bit smaller at tight end in terms of height. They don't have any 6'6", 6'7" guys unless someone hit a growth spurt, right? I grade the tight end is very hard to grade because it might be the area with the highest ceiling with the youth movement at that position. It might be one of the highest ceilings with the freshmen and the younger guys. I give it a B. So I'll go over that one more time. Tight ends, Nathan Bax, Luke Haas are probably going to be your 1 and 2. I give them, it's going to be a B with, you're going to see Francis Sherman, Varkey's Gums, Ty Washington, Shamar Easter, possibly. I think the jury's out on a couple of those cats, but so I give tight end a solid B. All right. What's going on with Bakke? Has he slipped back? Yeah, we're about to hit wide receivers. Ty always giving us great content. Love this channel. Hey, I appreciate you, man. Yeah, make sure you guys share. Share. Sharing is caring. All right. To the area that everyone wants to talk about. This is the most, it's some areas it's a heated debate among some people. Wide receiver. Now, this is the hardest area to grade because we don't really know the ceilings of some of these transfers. I will tell you that Andrew Armstrong, Isaiah Santana, Isaac Tesla, Jaden Wilson all had, I thought, very strong springs. Some of those guys didn't get to participate all spring camp, the names I just mentioned, but Isaiah Santana sure did. He was consistent. Bryce Stevens, liked what I saw out of him. Andrew Armstrong was the most consistent wide receiver in the entire group. between him and Isaiah Centennia. Now, Centennia is going to line up at the slot, who's 5'11", 178. I did not update these sizes. I want to make sure that's right. Yeah, okay, it's still 5'11", 178, according to their website. Him and Bryce Stevens are going to play the slot. I've got Andrew Armstrong with Tyrone Broden and then Samuel Bakke. Or at least I need to change that because I had Samuel Bakke backing up Armstrong, but I think Broden's going to end up because Broden didn't get to participate much during spring camp. So I like Andrew Armstrong, Tyrone Broden, and Samuel Bakke at that one receiver spot, right? At the slot, I think it's going to be Centennia and Bryce Stevens, maybe with Bryce Stevens going into fall camp as the starter, maybe, and then with Centennia taking the role over either immediately following fall camp or at some point in the year. And then your other outside receiver is going to be that group's going to be Isaac Teslaw, Jaden Wilson, and Chris Harris. Now, these guys are unproven. It is a mostly unproven wide receiver room. It's weird because I think their ceiling, it could be somewhere in the A's. However, their basement could be D's. They could be it could be really bad. It could be all this hype. Remember, we've done this before where we thought, oh my God, the wide receivers are going to be unbelievable. And then they have a so-so year, and you have these guys with the accolades, and they're coming from these schools that you never heard of, and it's like, yeah, whatever. This guy's coming from JUCO, and he was number 5 wide receiver in all JUCO, and then he comes here and he doesn't do a damn thing. You get a kid out of Florida State who I was so big on, couldn't get it done. It is a very hard group to grade. I gave the wide receivers a B-. That could change. I could drop it to a C-. I just don't know. But at the same time, man, I mean, Andrew Armstrong, Bryce Stevens, Isaiah Centennia, Teslaw, these are all guys that I think their potential in this offense could be pretty high. Maybe even out of the offense, who knows? Maybe they find their way onto a roster at the next level one way or another, and they find a way to shine. Maybe they have their Hollister moment where they don't do much in college, but then they go to the pros. They find ways to make rosters. I don't know, but it's a tough group to grade. Right now I'm giving them a B-. It could go up. More than likely could go down just simply because we don't know. Off the top of your head, can you name the schools that Tyrone Broden, Andrew Armstrong, and Teslaw all came from without Googling it? Can you locate those areas on a map? I sure as hell can't. At least, not directly off the top of my head. Broden, yeah, Broden's pretty easy, but the rest of them you can't. And then Isaiah Centennia is going to be a redshirt freshman, right? Bryce Stevens is still a mostly unknown piece of that room. I think B- is fair. I think that's fair. Let me see. I can give you 2 of 3, says John Hawes. Crazy how it took Brody years being a return. And Bryce Stevens does it his first year. Yeah, Steve. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Dang it, that was supposed to be in the text to my son. If Bax is on the field, isn't that telling the opposing D the Hogs are running? They will target Bax, I think, a little bit in the passing game. You got to keep everybody guessing. All right, let's move on to the running backs. This is going to be easy. Now, some of you may not agree. Some of you want to say I'm too high or too low. Running backs, Rocket Sanders. I think DeBinion ends up being the guy with the second most carries, or he's going to be the 2. We know they're going to line up different ways. You're probably going to have some 2-back sets, and God only knows what that's going to look like. We know Rocket will for sure be that one of those guys, but the other 2. Now you've got Dominic Johnson back in the picture, or back in the window. Back in the picture. I'm really hungry, by the way. I always am when I get halfway through a show. I start to really get hungry. But the running back room looks legit. Rocket Sanders, potential first-round draft pick, All-American, could be one of the top 3 backs, maybe even we should be talking more about a Heisman contender if everything goes according to plan, right? You have another unbelievable year on offense. He's going to be in the mix. He's going to get a ton of yards. Listen, I'm on the outside on that. I don't know. Like, he's going to have an absolutely incredible year to even be considered on any short list to make New York. But I do think he's in that upper echelon of running backs in college football. That alone pushes Arkansas's running back grade really high. Again, you mix in DeBinion, who really impressed me last year. A.J. Green, who's got that speed. I gave this group a solid A. So A-, right? A- is low. Then you've got A, and then you got A+. I think they're on the verge of being an A+ backfield. This is one of the most talented backfields in all of college football. And the fact that there are people leaving them out of the mix as far as, one of the top 5, top 10 backfields in college football is absurd. This backfield is loaded. Now, are they going to do what they did in terms of rushing yards? I don't know, because damn, this team loved to run the ball, and it, you're not going to have KJ running the ball 16 times a game, I don't think. So that's just going to mean, an extra 4 or 5 carries for the backfield, right? Depending on how many plays per game they're having. But regardless, I listen, whether they have the same amount of yards or more on the ground, and that's hard to imagine. They were top 8 in rushing offense last year. Top 7. Didn't they finish like 7th, I think, including the bowl game? But I don't know that they match the yardage or not, but I think they are a A+ ceiling. I think that's their ceiling, and I give them an A just to kind of even it out. And I think that's a fair grade, right? You don't want to go too far because then you're a homer. And I'm not trying to be a homer. I mean, that's my thought there. Bowling Green, Hillside, Texas A&M Commerce. Okay. Chris G's got it. Does Dominic Johnson become the power short yard back? There are a lot of questions about whether or not Dominic is back to his old self. If he is, oh my God, that's A+. That's A+. It's the best backfield in the country. If Dominic Johnson if he just gets close to what he was, this backfield's going to be incredible. Quarterbacks. A-. I think quarterbacks are an A-. KJ Jefferson, without a doubt, potential. I don't know what his ceiling is. The more you think about it, it's like, damn, could he really be a first-round prospect? It's another one of those, if everything goes according to plan, right? Like, if everything goes the way it's supposed to, I like KJ a lot. He's probably going to go down as my second favorite Razorback quarterback of all time behind Matt Jones. And I know he's going to break records and numbers and all that. There's something to be said about what Matt Jones was surrounded with when he was here. It's not like they had a great offensive coordinator. It's not like that offense was stable. It's not like that offense the guy had to put on his shoulders, but so was KJ. KJ's had to do the same thing. Matt Jones I don't think anyone will ever take him over as my favorite quarterback. Just watching him on TV and in person, it's just two different things. And the fact that he's just a freak in nature, what he was able to accomplish. But KJ is already on the short list for me as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play at Arkansas. I'd put him in front of Quinn Grovey. When it comes to the other guys, Tyler Wilson, Ryan Mallett, Brandon Allen. Well, it's weird saying Ryan Mallett's. It's weird saying Ryan Mallett's name knowing he's gone. That is so weird. Where he belongs, I think he is in front of some of them. I do. He's a special quarterback, and we'll see what this year does for him. So KJ, Jacoby Criswell is going to be your 2. Cade Fortin, I think, will hang on to the 3. Malachi Singleton, the true freshman, is going to be somewhere between the 3 and the 4. So I give him an A-. I think quarterbacks are an A-. Only because we still don't know what to make of Criswell. Fortin is not a backup quarterback in this league. He's just not. And Singleton's a true freshman. That's why it's an A-, not an A or an A+. I wish we knew. Like, I did like what I saw out of Criswell as the season went on. As the spring camp went on. I really liked what I saw out of him. He got better. He definitely was more comfortable. But I just don't know when the lights come on, when he's if he's ever called up, and God forbid he is, if it's early in a game, that means, you know what? I don't know if it's all going to click for him or not in this offense. That's going to be up to Enos to make sure this guy is good to go. It's going to be all on Enos to make sure he is good to go, and he's going to need to be, because KJ still runs a certain way. He still plays a certain way, which makes me love the guy even more. But you gotta think, man. You gotta think. If we know what happened. Look at LSU. Look at Mississippi State. Liberty. He wasn't full go. We know that. He was hurt. He shouldn't have played. You can argue it cost them 3 games last year. And, he had the fumble against A&M and how that changed the whole dynamics of that game. It did have an impact. But, everything just comes down on his shoulders. I'm hoping Enos is going to find a way to make that not be the case, where every single play or every single drive is 100 or not 100, but mostly, that's not even fair to say because he's a quarterback in this day and age. That's just the quarterbacks have all the burden these days, right? Especially in the RPO, in the era of RPO. To take a little bit of, weight off his shoulders. I think Enos is going to, that's going to be Enos's thing, right? Trying to get the running backs even more involved in the offense, which is so weird to say when you consider what Rocket did a year ago and what this offense did on the ground a year ago. So it's also going to come down to the receivers, to the skill position guys, the tight ends, running backs catching the ball out of the backfield. Is that going to be more of a thing? Are we going to see more smoke and tunnel screens? Are we going to see them throw the ball to the backs a little more? But they need to do what they can to take a little bit of pressure off of KJ, and that starts with it starts with, everyone else doing their part, but making sure the running backs and the offensive line, everyone's on the same page. But Jacoby Criswell had better be ready to go. I'll just say that. Okay, there you go. That's it, baby. Do we need to do a really quick recap? Because I can do that. Quarterbacks, grade A-. KJ, Jacoby, Criswell, Cade Fortin, Malachi Singleton. That's the – why am I holding up 5 fingers? That's the depth chart. Rocket Sanders, running backs, grade A. Rocket Sanders, Rashad Dubinion, A.J. Green. We'll see about Dominic Johnson, where he plays in there. Nathan Bax, Luke Haas, Varkey's Gums, maybe Ty Washington are going to be your guys at tight end. We'll see about Shamar Easter. I don't think Francis Sherman or Hunter Talley are going to play a huge role this year. I could be wrong. But tight ends, grade out at a B. Wide receivers, B-. Andrew Armstrong, outside receiver. Other outside receiver, Isaac Tesla, slot. Isaiah Centennial with Bryce Stevens backing him up. Overall, and so B- for the receivers. Offensive line, B-. Left tackle, Devin Manuel, backed up by Andrew Chambly. We'll see if that changes. Brady Latham, Bo Limmer, Joshua Braun, Patrick Kutas on the offensive line. Again, that's a B-. Defensive line, Trahan Jeffcoat, backed up by Stewart or Morgan. We'll see how that plays out. Landon Jackson at the other defensive end spot with Nico Devier and Zach Williams. Cam Ball, Eric Gregory, Torrin Carter, Anthony Booker on the interior. So Cam Ball and Torrin Carter probably going to be your 2 guys lining up in that forefront. B- on the defensive line. Linebackers, B-. Antonio Greer, Christopher Paul. Corners, Dwight McLaughlin, and I don't know. I want to say Lorando Johnson, but who knows? TBS to be seen with the other corner spot, but probably Johnson, backed up by Singletary and the other kid, the other transfer who's not registering at the moment. Al Walcott, Jalen Lewis, Dallas Young at the nickel, Hudson Clark, TJ Metcalf at safety, and Malik Chavis, Jaden Johnson, Dylan Haas at the other 2 safety spots. So that's secondary. I graded out. Where is it? C-, and linebackers a B-. So there you go. Boom. We did it. That was it. Whew. That was a lot. But I maybe you got, okay, here we go. Do we want to do a poll? I mean, I know we've lost a lot of people, but do we want to do a poll? Or no? We can do another poll. Another day. We can do this. You know what? What is it? We're at an hour and a half. Yeah, we better not. I appreciate Youngstar. I appreciate you starving yourself to provide us with quality content. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Paul, I'm no dancer. Brock says Rocket won't do it if McFadden couldn't, unfortunately. Wait, couldn't what? McFadden went to New York twice, if that's what you're talking about. Darren McFadden was a Doak Walker Award winner 2 times and came up just a little shy 2 times as a Heisman contender. Finished second back-to-back. So I don't know what you're talking about, Brock. Rocket won't do it if McFadden couldn't. Hey, Brother Hog. Better late than never. What's up, Doug Stubbs? How you doing? So, again, one final shout-out to our where'd it go? Hold on. Shout-out to Patreon supporters. And then our legendary status members. Thomas Nunley, Timothy Wiseett, and Will Watkins. So shout out to them and all of our Patreon supporters. And, of course, to our sponsors, Direct Service Overhead and the Odd Soul. All those links are provided for you down below in the description box. He won't win it all is what I was saying. No, right, yeah. I'm saying what I was saying, Brock, was his ceiling being someone who gets who is a contender, right? You know, being someone who gets the trip to New York. I think maybe that's his ceiling. Maybe it's not. You know, we might be overhyping him. I don't know. What I do know, I mean, I thought he was pretty spectacular. What I do know is it's going to be a different offense. And we'll see how he responds. He could have a disappointing year. That is something that's on the table. It's always on the table. But I think there's a reason why people are so big on him and why most people have him as a first-team All-SEC running back. I think he's really special. So, yeah. How do we get to legendary? Doug, that is $20 not super chat. It's $20 Patreon supporter. If you join the legendary status, which if you go to the Patreon screen, you'll see it there. Shout out to, of course, Zachary Hall with his first ever super chat, $10. I appreciate that. That was awesome. Thanks, man. It's always good to see Zach Hall come through. Yeah. All right. Oh, and we have links. Thank you, John, for posting those links, man, in the chat. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to do it. I appreciate you. Remember, on your way out, make sure you hit the like button, share the content. I'm going to try and timestamp these down below. It might take me a little bit, but I'm going to try and get that all. What's up, Gary Davis? How you doing, man? I'm just getting into how you should have waited on me. I'm sorry. Gary, thanks for being here, though. But I'll try to timestamp everything down below for you guys to try and simplify it a little bit. So I'm legendary broke, but I watch and like, hey, Philip, that's more than enough, man. I appreciate you. All right. I think we're done. I'm going to go eat dinner. You guys have a good weekend. I've got next week, I have no idea what the content, I don't know. Right now, there may not be much next week. It may be like this week. We just have a couple live shows. Our kids are going to Camp War Eagle next week, so it won't be as crazy around here. So maybe I can do a couple more. Maybe we can push out a little bit more content, assuming we have something to discuss and talk about. But you know me, I'll find some topic we could talk about. So a Patreon will spin. We might need to do one of those tonight, actually, in Discord. Why don't we? We might have to set that up tonight. Might have to do a Patreon will spin tonight. I don't know. All right. I'll see you guys hopefully next week. I'll try to keep you up to date. And I will, again, I'm going to copy and paste that depth chart. I'm going to move it over to the main Patreon. So, yeah, all right. You guys have a good weekend. And I'll see you around.
Garage Doors, we are your one-stop shop for all things garage door. From garage door repair and broken spring replacement to new garage doors and openers, we do it all. We're proud to be among the highest-rated local garage door companies in all of Central Arkansas. Our highly trained technicians are available 24 hours a day at no extra cost to you. So if you have an emergency, call us today, 501-244-3667, or visit our website at directserviceoverhead.com. Don't wait days. We'll fix it now.